What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, I am Adriel.
And I'm Kiva, and we are a young Christian couple. We love God, we love food, and we love family.
And today, as you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about rules for having friends of the opposite sex. Now, this is a touchy subject, but we're going to be diving straight into it. But before we go ahead, we want you to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Also, smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And click the notification bell so you can know and be notified when we post our videos. All right, let's get into it.
So, friendships of the opposite sex while married.
Yeah.
Let's just first ask the question. Is it okay for us to have friends of the opposite sex while married?
Me personally, I think it's okay. But it doesn't just stop there, does it?
No, it doesn't.
No, there's, as we would say, there are terms and conditions. There must be boundaries set in place. Without boundaries, there are no limits to where the friendship can go. We have to ask ourselves, what are the boundaries? And it has to be discussed because Keith and I are married, we have to agree on boundaries. I can't have different boundaries from Kiva because then it's not going to align.
That's true. We also have to remember, rather, that before we got married, even before we got into a relationship, we had our friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't think it's fair just to say, hey, now I'm dating this guy, I'm dating this girl, now that I'm getting married, sorry, we can't be friends no more. Like in primary school, if someone do something to you, you'd be like, you ain't my friend no more.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. And I think it's all about emotional intelligence at the same time.
Right.
You have to be aware of the fact that, hey, to your spouse, tell your spouse or your friend that this is my friend. This is my friend for years, and these are the boundaries that we have set in place. You could tell them about your friend. For how long were you and your friend friends? You and your friend friends?
Since university.
So, and you're old guy, so how long was
that? Funny. 2009. So that's, man, doing the math. We're in 2021 right now.
Yeah.
So that's about 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I have a few male friends that I still keep in contact with. Some from primary school.
Yeah.
Literally from primary school. So we've been friends for probably 19 years.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be fair just to say, oh, we can't be friends. But we had an understanding of boundaries. So that's what we're going to talk about today, as well as boundaries. How do we set up boundaries, and what kind of boundaries should there be? So
like boundaries include topic of conversation. What kind of information are you sharing? Is it intimate or is it kind of surface? Of course, you don't want to be sharing intimate details with your friends, because things like that could then lead to some kind of emotional attachment. Happening.
But babe, there's also one thing that can also help with setting boundaries.
What's that?
Smashing that like button, y'all. You gotta go ahead and smash the like button. YouTube loves it. It helps with the algorithm. Now, back to what we were talking about. When we say intimate, how far is too far?
So like intimate details include private and personal things. And that's something husband and wife should.
Like, let's use a practical example. How far is too far? If I say to my male friend, it's hypothetical. Oh, Asia doesn't want to have snacks with me anymore. Or he,
Yeah.
that you don't want to be involved with me sexually, intimately. Like, is that too far to share with a male friend?
Yeah, I think that's a good example. Another boundary, talking bad about your spouse to your friends. That's like a no-go.
Yeah, and I think that's not male and female.
Yeah, both ways.
Both
Yeah.
ways. You shouldn't be down. You shouldn't be airing your dirty laundry. Not to say that we don't go through issues, but the whole world doesn't have to know. Now, if you have one or two friends where you could be their confidant besides your husband, because sometimes I believe it's good to have someone else to talk to about certain things, who you know can give you sound advice, who can pray for you, with you, and help you navigate through that problem. But just to talk about you, I think that's not healthy at all.
And I think that's the purpose of counselors, one.
Yes.
Mentors of the same sex. I know a lot of people that I've researched emphasize the importance of having a same-sex mentor. With opposite sex, as we're touching on today, there's always the potential that you can become attracted to the person, and if you share too many intimate details, then that emotional connection can begin, and then you can head down a road you don't want to go down. So
yeah. Another thing is, how much time do you think is appropriate to spend with the opposite sex? Like, if, for example, if you say, first of all, should you even be spending time alone with the other sex? Because, like, if my husband was to tell me he gonna go hang out by so-and-so house, where? How? It's a no. Like, what you mean? No. I don't care if y'all been friends since y'all was in diapers. I said this before. If that friend ain't come out, mommy or daddy, then they're, to me, nah.
Yeah, and that's an important point. Like, some people think just because they're married now that they're not susceptible to falling, or they're not, they'll never cheat on their spouse. But if you put yourself in a certain environment, anything can happen. Like, don't fool yourself. It can happen to any of us. Even after marriage, no matter 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of marriage, we're still human beings. We're still flawed. So we have to be mindful of how much time we spend with our friends, and preferably not one-on-one, straight up. Like, it's gotta be there has to be more than one person there. Like, if you're going out.
Then, also, is it wrong if I just go to lunch in a public place with an old friend?
At the same time, I don't have a problem with you going out and catching up. Because the point is, how much time are you spending together?
And where you spending the time?
And where. So if you're hanging out at someone's house, one-on-one, no one else there, anything can happen in those situations.
Just know if you go and spend time there, just don't come back. Stay.
If you're going out in a public setting, but it's not like you're going out. If you're going out every day or every week, that's kind of a...
Yeah,
it's like you're trying to go out every week.
Nah.
Like, making it a habit.
No.
It's like, I don't know about that.
I just remember the time we were dating. We weren't engaged or married.
Yeah.
Obviously dating. He's very charismatic. My husband, very charismatic guy, and I think a lot of times his friendliness can come off as something else. And you remember you said a friend, like every morning or every day will be messaging to say, hey, good morning. Like, girl, did you pray yet?
Yeah.
Did you talk to the Lord before you?
Yeah.
And I was just like, nah.
And I've had issues in the past with creating boundaries. That's why we're touching on this topic today too, because it's prevalent amongst young people, even older folks who've never implemented boundaries. But from doing therapy, reading, and even talking to a lot of people, couples, this is so prevalent, and it's important.
Okay.
I've learned that boundaries are so important. And to tie in with what Kiva said earlier as well, with friends spending time, if the friend is only spending time with your spouse, they're not really around you as a couple, that's kind of a red flag. So that's an important point to take. Like, is it a friend of the relationship or is it just a friend of the spouse? I think that's important. It needs to be, as a married couple, you come as one now.
Yes. Your
So
friend is
this
my
is
friend.
this
I'd be like, hey friend.
this is my priority.
Hey friend.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's one good thing to know.
Yeah, because we have friends who are single,
Yeah.
but they're our friends together, and it's like you don't just go and spend time with them or all the time or vice
Yeah.
versa. It's like we are all friends and they communicate like
Together, yeah.
it's just boundaries that set in place to say, you know what, these are my friends and I won't cross this boundary ever.
Yeah. Another point to consider as well, from doing research, there's a concept called walls and windows. So walls being privacy, windows being openness. So you want to have the windows between you and your spouse. You want openness, transparency always between you and your spouse. But you don't always want to have that openness, or you don't want to have that openness, sorry, with your friends of the opposite sex. You need to have those walls up there which highlight the privacy aspect of the relationship and which also highlights it's symbolic of a boundary, which is super important as well. And to be honest with you, some of the relationships that I had, like some of the friendships that I had, I didn't establish boundaries. So I had to cut some of those friendships off, like just being transparent and open. Like, because it's easy to say, oh, we're gonna create boundaries once we get married or once I get into a relationship. But I think boundaries still apply. Well, it applies to relationships, period. Whether it's a non-committed friendship, committed marriage, it applies across the board. So, ask yourself, you have to ask yourself, do I have boundaries in my relationship? Also, am I being honest about the friendships, like the level of friendships that I have? Oh, that's another rule that we have to be open about. I have to be open about my friendships to Kiva, whether it be co-workers, church friends, anywhere. Because we're gonna encounter different relationships in the workplace. We're gonna encounter people of the opposite sex, and just saying no, I'm not gonna be friends with them does not. It doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah, I can remember even when we were engaged, you're like, oh, I'm going to lunch with a coworker.
Yeah.
Opposite sex, but he had put a boundary up, and his coworker knew who I was. She actually came to our wedding, but he communicated that. He would even text me or call me at work and say, hey, so and so had, we're going for lunch.
Yeah.
I just want to not that he's asking permission, but it's just that he's having that open communication to say that this is what's happening, this is where I'm at if you're trying to reach me. And it's always good to be honest. Like he said, you just have to be honest. When you start to hide things from your spouse, it's gonna be exposed one way or the other. I think it's okay for us to have friends of the opposite sex once we create those boundaries. Like, you can't be calling a friend of the opposite sex past a certain time.
Yeah.
Like,
no late night.
Ain't no late night thing. If it's an emergency, call Jesus or call 911.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? If you feel as though you, like you said, talking about personal things, like even if there's been cases where you had a friend who was a coworker as well, who was venting about marriage stuff to you, but to me it was too constant.
Yeah.
I'm like, give her the yellow pages, and she need to call on Jesus, who was a friend all the time, or call on a therapist, because you ain't finna be both. No, for real, because
yeah, it's real. I'm laughing, but it's real.
Because there's, like, if you were to continue with that conversation, now she feels as though you are her safe place.
Yeah.
I could talk to Angel about my problems and this and girl, gone. Like,
yeah, And guys, it's real. This thing's real. And if you haven't been honest in your relationship, it's not too late, you know, to change. It's not too late to address the issues. As long as there's life in us, as long as there's breath in our lungs, there's time to, you know, make amends, to reconcile, and, you know, take the opportunity to do so. Like, that's why we're here. We're all here to grow and to better ourselves, you know, with the help of God. So guys, we hope you enjoyed, you know, some of the tips that we shared today for having relationships of the opposite sex. And, you know, feel free to share it with others. Also, feel free to share your comments, your thoughts of some of the tips and experiences that you've had with having friends of the opposite sex, so we can all learn and grow together. Now, guys, before we leave, of course, we must ask that you smash the like button. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. And, of course, we can't leave without telling you and reminding you that you are blessed and highly favored.
We see y'all in the next video.